There's been a ton of interesting new coffee releases in 2023, so today we're going to look at the most impactful ones. And when I say impactful ones, I mean the ones that have had most impact on the way I brew coffee at home. So this is not going to be a video that goes into the most clever engineering, the most innovative product. I think there are other competitions for that. Instead, this video will be about the products that are released in 2023 and that have found a way into my regular coffee routine. So obviously that's going to be a lot easier if you're not a grinder or an espresso machine, because there's already a lot of competition there. On the other hand, if you're a WDT tool, well, there's just going to be a lot less competition. Oh, and I will of course link all the products down below. So if you have any doubts or questions, then you can just look down there. So the first tool I want to highlight is this one here. This is the UmiCut WDT tool. As the name indicates, this is an espresso tool that you use to spin this one here around, and then it will rake up the grounds in your portafilter, and that will help you get a more even extraction. For a while, people have been using either individual needles or tools that do the same thing, but in a more manual way. You kind of like whisk around your espresso basket. But with this one here, all this is automated. You spin the handle, and then all these different small wheels will rotate around in their own ways. And then the idea is that actually if you do this enough times, then all areas of the espresso basket are going to get stirred up, fluffed up. Another really cool thing about this tool here is that it's actually the first 3D printed gadget that's made a really massive impact in my coffee brewing routine. 3D printing is this new technology that has been very promising, and I've used a few small 3D printed gadgets for some of my single dose grinders before, but they always felt a little bit, I don't know, not completely polished. Whereas I have to say this tool here, it just feels like really well engineered, really intelligent design. So in that sense, I also feel compelled to include it on the list just because it's so cool to see here in 2023. Finally, we have a 3D printed tool that is making a big difference. Next up, we have this one here. This is the Flair 58 Plus. The Flair 58 originally came out a few years ago, and this is kind of the new iteration. It's a little bit more polished, a little bit more like a luxury version. Actually, I've been planning to do a review of it for ages. I wanted to compare it against the Flair Robot, and because it's kind of a scary thing to compare these two heavyweight champions of manual espresso, I've been postponing it a little bit. And now, as I shared on the community tab recently here on YouTube, I've been having some problems with my sense of taste after being infected with COVID. So I haven't been able to do these deep sensorical analysis for a little bit of time. So I will have to wait for my taste buds to get back in good conditions, and then we are finally going to compare this to the Flair Robot. But one thing I will say right away is that I'm really impressed with it. It actually improves on a lot of things compared to the original version. The piston design here and the brew head, the operation is just a lot smoother. Then you got a lot of these really cool small details like the built-in magnetic mirror here. You can kind of take it off and position it so you can just see your shot perfectly. So I think the whole experience of using this is just a very luxurious feeling, very premium, and you kind of enjoy making coffee more if you got a gadget like this. So Flair 58 Plus, a little bit under the radar, but a really cool product. Next up, we have some really cool cheap gadgets, and that is puck screens. So this one here from MHW Free Bomber is the first one I got this year, where I thought, oh, this is a really nice design. It has this mesh that is kind of welded together with a bigger piece of metal. So that means that you get really nice distribution of the water. At the same time, it's a very sturdy design, so you're not going to bend it just by regular use. At the same time, cleaning is going to be a lot easier than one of the traditional mesh puck screens. So I was actually really pleased with the MHW puck screen, but then this one here caught my eye recently. And that is a new, slightly different design that is also really cool, perhaps even cooler. The one I have here is branded as Benno, but I believe if you're going to buy it on Amazon, It's branded as EKP or IKP. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'll put a link down below. This is also a really cool design because you have all these small holes that are kind of etched out, and then inside them you have even more fine micro holes, so the water will be distributed super evenly and spread across the screen. At the same time, since it's a unibody design, it appears to be a little bit easier to clean and probably a little bit better in the long run compared to the MHW bumper screen. I don't notice a big difference between them in daily use. In terms of workflow, in terms of consistency, they appear to be pretty much the same. But just if I could only pick one of them, I would probably take this one. Oh, another cool thing. Both are available in 3 different sizes. I think you have 51mm, the typical DeLonghi size. You have 53.5, which is the typical BREW size. And then you have this bigger 58.5mm, which is the typical size for a precision basket. So nice, you have a lot of different options with both the manufacturers. And if you don't already use a puck screen, I think now is a really good time to pick one of those up. It will make your workflow nicer, it will keep your group head cleaner, and I also believe it will give you more consistent extractions. So definitely worth getting one of these for 2024. One of my most recent videos is about this one here, the Me Coffee Apex. I call it the DF of espresso machines because it's a little bit like the DF grinder. It will be available under many different names and available in different parts of the world. But basically, this is a really cool espresso machine. I've been using it probably every single day since my review, and it's earned a spot on my coffee station, which is not behind me, but the coffee station that's actually out in the kitchen, where I have to fight a little bit more for the space for every single piece of item out there. And I have to say, compared to the BREW dual boiler, it's a very tiny machine, but I don't feel like I'm missing out on a whole lot of functionality. So that just tells you how good this is. It has 2 small problems that I also mentioned in the review. I'll put it up here and then you can check it out. But basically, the pre-infusion, it doesn't work great, and the pump of the machine is set to 15 bars, which is not exactly ideal. But if they fix these 2 small things, I believe that we have the best espresso machine, probably under, let's say, 1,400, 1,600. I guess that's the price of the dual boiler from BREW or the Lilith Elizabeth. So I believe we have to go up into a pretty high class to find something with the functionality that you get here. So before we get to the final one, my favorite release of 2023, we just have to talk about a few honorable mentions. And the first one is this one here, the AeroPress XL. I have actually enjoyed brewing with it quite a bit, and I made great coffee, and of course in bigger batches, which is always cool. But I feel like I need to test it a bit more with a huge group of people, and I haven't gotten around to do that yet. So I'll bring this one on my Christmas holiday, and then we'll see how it stacks up when there's a bunch of coffee thirsty family members around. Another very cool manual brewing gadget is this one here, the Cafic Deep 27. It just looks unlike anything else on the market. The paper filters are really weird. They have this completely unique shape. Then what's interesting about this dripper is that you can't really brew with it in too many different ways. So it kind of forces you to follow that kind of osmotic flow style of brewing that Cafic has really tried to popularize. At the same time, it is a very fast brewer. So if you want to experiment with ultra fast, let's say 90-second brews, then you can also do it with the Cafic Deep 27. The reason I don't include it on my main list is that I still feel like I need to test it a bit more. I've had mixed results, some very good coffees, and then some other ones that have been more disappointing. But overall, with the price in mind, it's going to be quite affordable most places. I think the Cafic Deep 27, if you're a pour-over lover, then it should probably be part of your collection. Now, I feel another honorable mention is these small scales here. This is the Search Peen Tiny Scale, and this is the Me Coffee Nano Pro Scale. Essentially, they look very similar. The Me Coffee Scale is made out of a slightly more premium material. You have a nicer rubber mat. The menu function is basically the same. Overall, you have the same cool features, which is really that it's a small espresso scale with a timer. It's USB-C rechargeable, and then you also have a physical on and off button here on the back side, which I think is a very nice touch. So they don't revolutionize anything, but they're just super affordable. They're small enough that you can fit them between the Cafe robot's legs. You can fit them on almost any drip tray, I would say, and the price is just right. Okay, and now we've come to it, the final point on the list. I will say there's been a lot of really great grinders released in 2023. This has probably been the best year for grinders ever. It started quite early with the Time More grinders, the 064. This is the espresso version. And then the 078, the bigger professional version, came out as well. You had different burr sets for brewing and espresso. And I was quite taken with the 064S. It was just a great all-round grinder. As you can see here, the footprint is just tiny. You got variable RPM. It's overall just a very nice package. However, there was one big letdown, and that is that it doesn't really work that well with the SSP burrs. I have issues with my multi-purpose burrs. They don't fit inside, and I know other people have experienced the same thing. And then if the burrs do fit, then you might not have a good espresso range to use it. So for that reason, I'm just gonna give honorable mention to the 064S. It's a great grinder, but that kind of lack of upgradability with third-party burrs, it's a little bit of a letdown. A lot of the same things that you could say about the Time More grinders, you could also say about the DF64. It's also a single dose grinder with nice new technology. It doesn't have the same kind of compact footprint, but overall it's just a grinder that gets the job done. And the good thing about this one here is that you can upgrade it with SSP burrs and other 64mm burrs, and that can significantly alter the flavor profile. So I think this just improves so much upon the original DF grinder that for me it just has to be the top pick. I think pound for pound it's the best single dose grinder out there. Then there's also the DF64V, which is another really cool option. It does have a few flaws. For example, the magnet that connects the chute here came loose on my unit. I've seen that happen to other units as well. It had some problems with stalling. So just because it has these small minor issues, I have to give the edge to the DF64 Gen 2. It's also cheaper. You don't get the variable speed and the super silent motor. But overall, for most people, I think this is just the best bang for the buck option. So there you have it. These are the most impactful upgrades in my coffee collection. 2023 has been a crazy year for grinders especially, but there's been a lot of cool coffee products. And unfortunately, I couldn't include all of them in this video here, because I just don't use them on a daily basis. But that doesn't mean that they're not great products. They most certainly are. So if you have any products you want to give a special shout out to, then do it down in the comment section below. Oh, and this is also going to be one of my last coffee videos of the year. So hopefully I can make a special request for you, and that is to go ahead and watch this video here. I spent a lot of time and effort on this video. It's not about coffee gear, it's about the greater picture of coffee. It didn't quite get the attention I think it deserved. So if you want to do me a big favor, then click the video, watch it, maybe even leave a comment or share it with a friend, and that would just make me super happy. So that's it for today. I will see you in another coffee video very soon, but until then, I hope you have a great Christmas and New Year's.